Hello everyone, my name is Maya, and I've decided with all the free time I have due to the coronavirus break, I would make informational videos about the science behind the coronavirus. Now, these videos are for myself and my peers. There's a lot of misinformation going around social media, so I'm here to inform and clarify some of the things that aren't super clear to us. Before getting into the coronavirus itself, I figured it would be good to cover some of the basics. After being asked by my parents and asking a few of my friends, I realized it isn't super clear what the difference is between viruses and bacteria. These potentially disease-causing pathogens may seem similar, but in reality aren't. So welcome to Bacteria versus Viruses 101. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about bacteria first. Bacteria are single-celled organisms, which were one of the first organisms on the planet. Bacteria lives in every part of the world and can thrive in many different climates and locations. Good and bad bacteria exists. In fact, the majority of bacteria is harmless to humans. But they are living things that can cause diseases. So bacterial infections are basically a proliferation, which is basically rapid reproduction, of a harmful strain of bacteria in any part of the body. Now, bacteria can infect you in multiple ways. Some will produce toxins and chemicals that can damage your cells. Others will directly invade and damage your tissues. Now, most bacteria is treated with antibiotics, but the problem with antibiotics is that if they're used too much, the bacteria can acquire a resistance to them. So, this is why when you're prescribed antibiotics, you must follow the doses exactly as the doctor gives you because it can very easily be used wrong. Bacteria can come in many different shapes, including the most common, bacilli, which is a rod shape, cocci, which is a spherical shape, and sprilla, which is spiral shape. On the other hand, viruses are microscopic particles consisting of genetic material and a coat of protein that can infect the cells of an organism. So, one of the big differences between bacteria and viruses is that viruses cannot reproduce like bacteria can. So, instead of doing this, they infect the host cell, which is the cell in which the virus multiplies, and it directs the cell's machinery so that the cell makes more viruses. So essentially, the virus is controlling the cell to benefit itself, much like a parasite. So it is most commonly compared to a parasite, which is an accurate comparison, except for the fact that viruses are not true living organisms. It has been argued extensively whether viruses are alive or not, and most of the sources I found concluded that they weren't. They're not considered technically alive, but they can be said to verge on life. I would say that the main reason people think they're not alive is because of the lack of reproduction. Reproduction is a key defining feature of life, which viruses just don't have. Viruses also lack organelles, and their structure isn't as complex as that of a living organism. Viruses aren't quite inert matter like a rock, but they're not quite complex enough to be considered a living thing. Living organisms are complex machines with many different methods and systems working together to keep them alive, and a virus isn't quite there. So, moving along from that, a fun fact about viruses is that they can actually infect bacteria, and they do infect bacteria. They infect all living organisms. But over the years, bacteria have come up with many methods to combat this. And I think that is just so cool how they have evolved a variety of immune systems to defend themselves against viruses. Treatment-wise, most viral infections actually tend to resolve on their own without treatment. So most of the medicine provided is to give relief to the symptoms. But there still are many vaccines and antiviral medicines to help directly work on certain viruses.
So I thought I'd explain how a virus works through this diagram. So as you can see, the virus first enters the cell body, releasing RNA or DNA, which is basically the genetic material inside the virus, and then the virus RNA invades the cell nucleus and taking over the cell's machinery and starting to use it as the host cell. So next, the viral RNA uses the host cell to create new RNA and starts to assemble more viral particles. So this is basically making more of the virus. And then new viral particles are released, sometimes destroying the host cell in the process. And then the cycle starts all over again.
So, I would say that in the end, the main difference between bacteria and viruses is that one is alive and one isn't. But as you can see, there's many differences and many similarities between the two. So I hope that you learned from this video, and if you want to research more on the topics and learn more about bacteria and viruses alone, I am going to link all of the resources I used to research for this video in the description, so I really encourage you to go check those out because they're very informative and very good resources. I would also really like to thank you, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch me blabber on. If you want more videos like this, you can subscribe. And please comment down below whatever you want to see next. If you have some ideas you want to learn more about the coronavirus, please let me know. And that's all. Bye.